Before we get very far into our next story, we do have a warning for you tonight. What you're about to see and hear may not be suitable for children. Tonight, take a walk in their world.
Good morning, everyone. It is March 25th. We're at the end of the month. We're going to do a quick Transpicuous news geomagnetic update on the planet, because things that we thought were going to happen didn't really happen, and some weirdness is taking place. Doesn't really make sense if we're using the correct measuring sticks, as I always say. I'm going to take you to a screen share. And we're going to start off with, not that screen, we're going to start off with where we are sitting right now. We have been, for the last 5 days, sitting under 0 kp again, where every day we've had a little tiny single bounce up like this. I'll take you back. I will go to the 22nd. You can see it. This is where it started on the 21st, where every day we've had one small bounce up to 1 kp, but that has pretty much been it. And as we know, as I've talked about, 0 kp brings with it several physical, mental issues that can come up. And I'm not going to dig into that right now for today. I did a geomagnetic update a Wednesday night during the UnFuckIt discussion. I discussed some of the stuff that was going on, and I talked about the C-class solar flares that we had and the incoming CME. The next day I put out a bit of a news update here, so I wanted to show everyone. We can see this was the CME as it came. This little yellow dot here is Earth, so technically we should have gotten a pretty direct blow. Now, NOAA and NASA first said that it was going to arrive on the 22nd, 23rd, and then it was going to be the 23rd, 24th, then it was the 24th, 25th. We do get slow-moving CMEs, but this is not, there's nothing about this that is playing out the way we expected, the way, by their own words, they seem to have expected. We know they're all bullshitters anyways, but according to what they put out, this hasn't played out right. Now, I went to SolarHam first thing this morning, and it showed us, oh look, shock passage was finally detected. What was a very weak shock passage, etc., happened here. You can see the little bit of a spike over here on the telemetry. Accepts that. And I'll show you over here. It shows it a little more clearly. Here you go, and your density, your wind speeds do a quick jump up. But I mean, they go from between the low mid 200s, they jump up to about the mid 300s. That is not much of a jump of a wind speed. If you've been following along on these reports, I've been talking about, we've had wind speed jumps where it's gone from 300, 400, 500 up to 900, 1100, occasionally in January hitting 2100 kilometers a second. So seeing this tiny little raise, it's like a blip. So of course I went over to the magnetosphere and I went looking at what was going on. Now, yesterday, as you can see, we start here at around 6 o'clock in the morning on the 24th. We have this kind of activity all day. You can see here, the magnetopause is extremely dense particles. The red is right in here. It's right into the inner lines, into the inner circle around the planet. you can see how thick and how red and dense this is. The unrest goes on and on and on. Now, of course, this was during the time when we were at 0 kp. This goes on all day. It just continues, and it has been like this for several days now. Lots and lots and lots of unrest. Now, it dies down a tiny bit, and each time you get a small pause, and then it flares back up again. We've got several jumps in there, if you've noticed, though, where little pieces are missing from the feed. Sometimes it's only 45 minutes, sometimes it's an hour. Now, again, you can see this. We're at 1700. We're coming up on 6 p.m. last night. You can see the density. We can see the hits are coming in. Really, really dense, big hits. We have some separation on the southern polar lines down here where they're completely separating. Now we're at going on 9 o'clock at night. Boom, 22:19. We've lost another hour. 23 now. This is around about the time they say that we have this little jump, this little spike, which is not really true. We had several of them yesterday. But you can see the unrest, and then guess what happens? At 2:59 this morning, there is absolutely nothing. It is now 11:27 a.m. Central European time for me. I should be able to get this live feed up to about a half an hour ago, which would be, let's even say 10 UTC. There is nothing. Nothing since 2:59 a.m. last night. So we can't compare anything. All we know is our last glimpse that we have is this mess right here. Again, like I've said, we can see it's really dense. We can see the morphing, the pushing of the lines, again, where they're all over the place. And that's all we get. We look over here at the solar wind speeds, okay, at the solar wind velocities. It's the same thing all day. It hovers pretty much at the 263. When we get up to around noon, I think it is, we start to see a few jumps where it raises up a little higher, 300, 301. It's pretty calm, with the exception of, like I said, the particle density here that you're seeing in the red color. And then we jump up to, let's get that to jump forward. There we go. We're at just after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It gets up to the high 300s. But again, really not much. And then we go screaming along, and like just as things are starting to get a little interesting, boom, the feed cuts out at 2:59 a.m. last night. I don't know what the fuck is going on. This did not flow like a CME should have flowed. Yes, we have slow moving CMEs, but this was really slow moving CME, like real slow. With no cause and effect, it seemed like no effect. We didn't see anything. Well, again, we can't see the magnetic field lines. We can't see the solar wind velocity because the feeds went down. So I'm going to go back and look later on today. Occasionally, a day or two later, that information will magically reappear again, just like magic. We'll see if that does. In the meantime, the energetics, the energy around the planet is pretty strange. It's, like I said, we've been in 0 kp for day after day. I've got, we're still raised elevation on the X-ray flux. It has never come down. Now, the sunspots that caused those, I'll go over here. So these sunspots here, this is our little cause here that caused the solar flares. It is pretty much completely rotated around the limb, so it's no longer geo-effective. It can't directly affect us in flaring position. But what's going on? Again, I come back to, do we even have the correct measuring sticks to be able to measure what we are feeling and seeing happen around our planet? Now, on a little side note, I wrote a little article a couple days ago, March 22nd, on RTS Earth, It was a bit of a tongue-in-cheek, fun little Danny's Crash Course and everything you need to know about our sun, lesson number 1. I wrote it, yes, very tongue-in-cheek, but I wrote it in a way of trying to make it as basic as basic as basic. So if you're talking to your friends and they don't know what a sunspot is versus coronal mass ejection, they've never heard of these words, I kind of put this out, like I said, funny, light and lively, but to kind of give a basic comprehension of what I'm talking about when I do these, pardon me, these geomagnetic updates. Okay, now, again, light and lively, heavily dripping with sarcasm. Remember, the subject itself is not light and lively. Sorry, guys, I'm losing my voice this morning. These geomagnetic anomalies do have risks. I will have this article out later on today, and I'm going to put in all the screenshots of all the various graphs, etc., 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 so you guys can see them and take a look at them. Now, what's going on? I don't know. This doesn't look like a normal event to me. It seems like a non-event, and yet it wasn't supposed to be, unless we're not measuring things with the right measuring stick. I don't know. Anyways, that's it for me. I will talk to you guys again very, very soon.